The lawyer's office felt too quiet for the number of people inside it. Chairs shifted, paper rustled, polite nods were exchanged, but beneath it all hung the heavy stillness that follows loss. My grandfather had been practical, methodical, predictable in the way only certain people can be. His will, we assumed, would reflect that same careful simplicity. It did, until it didn't. The lawyer paused midway through reading, adjusted his glasses, and delivered a sentence that landed in the room like a dropped glass. He had left me the contents of the locked room upstairs. And suddenly, a door I had ignored my entire life became the loudest thing in the house. The envelope was thick, the paper slightly yellowed, as though it had been waiting longer than the rest of the will. Inside was a single brass key, heavy and cold, taped carefully to a card with 2 words written in his unmistakable handwriting, "Not yet." Those words echoed louder than the inheritance itself. Not yet when? Not yet why? He had written this knowing I would one day hold it, knowing I would read those words at a moment he could never witness. The key felt less like an object and more like a conversation left unfinished. Every family has a room that becomes background noise, a space so consistently closed that it fades into the architecture. The door at the end of the upstairs hallway had always been that room. Growing up, it was simply part of the scenery. No one questioned it. No one knocked. It was just storage. That single word had satisfied decades of curiosity. Now, standing at the end of that hallway again, the word felt painfully inadequate. The house greeted me with the stillness of a place that had outlived its owner. The air carried the scent of paper and furniture polish, of quiet routines paused mid-sentence. Every step across the floorboard sounded louder than I remembered, as if the house itself was aware of what I had come to do. The hallway stretched longer than it ever had before. And the door waited at the end of it like it always had, patient, silent, and suddenly important. The key sat in my palm, warm from my grip, yet somehow still cold. That note replayed endlessly in my mind, "Not yet." The longer I stood there, the heavier those words became. Maybe the waiting had been the point. Maybe the hesitation was part of the inheritance. Because unlocking the door didn't feel like opening a room. It felt like stepping into something he had prepared long before I knew it existed. The lock clicked with surprising ease, the sound echoing down the hallway like a quiet announcement. When the door opened, the air that drifted out didn't smell abandoned. It smelled preserved. Paper. Wood. Time. The room was not dark or chaotic or mysterious in the way locked rooms are supposed to be. It was neat. Ordered. Calm. The kind of calm that feels intentional. Shelves lined every wall, filled with boxes arranged in perfect rows. The symmetry was striking. Every box identical in size, identical in placement. It didn't look like storage. It looked like a system. Like a personal museum curated with care and precision. Each box bore a single label, a year. Written in the same steady handwriting. 1963, 1964. 1965, the timeline stretched across decades, marching forward in quiet, patient sequence until it reached the present day. Standing in the middle of that room felt like standing inside someone else's timeline. Inside the first box were small, ordinary objects wrapped carefully in tissue paper. Movie tickets. Receipts. Letters. Postcards. Tiny fragments of daily life that most people would throw away without a second thought. Yet here they were, preserved as though they mattered deeply. As though every ordinary day deserved a record. Box after box revealed the same pattern. Not major milestones. Not grand achievements. Just evidence of days lived quietly and fully. It felt less like a collection of objects and more like a collection of moments. Then the years reached my childhood. A birthday candle from a cake I barely remembered. A drawing I had given him. Small artifacts from moments I had forgotten entirely. He had been saving pieces of our shared life without ever mentioning it. One box broke the pattern. Instead of a year, it carried my name. The handwriting trembled slightly, as if written later in his life. Lifting the lid felt like opening a door inside a door. Inside were objects tied to moments that had not happened yet. A brochure from a city I had never visited. A program from a ceremony still years away. Receipts dated in the future. The room suddenly felt smaller. On the wall hung a calendar marked with small notes stretching years ahead. Some dates had already passed and matched events that had happened. Others still waited quietly in the future. In the desk drawer was a letter addressed to me. He wrote about observation. About patterns. About the quiet predictability hidden inside ordinary life. The letter never explained the future artifacts. It simply spoke about paying attention long enough to see what others miss. Standing in that room, surrounded by decades of careful observation, the idea settled slowly: this wasn't a collection of memories. It was a lifetime of watching life unfold. At the end of the shelf sat a single empty box labeled with a year far in the future. Waiting, the room wasn't a secret. It was an invitation. A continuation of the habit he had practiced his entire life. When I left, I locked the door behind me. Purpose. The key no longer felt like a mystery. It felt like a responsibility.